welcome to the Grow For It podcast. Our goal is to highlight leaders in the personal development coaching industry and give you a glimpse into what's working and what challenges they're facing along the way so that you can learn and grow in both your business and personal life. Today we have a very special guest, Melanie Wexler, who joins us as a career coach, job search expert, and LinkedIn specialist. Melanie, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, give a brief introduction of what you do as far as career coaching and dive into that a little bit for us?
So I have to go back into my first career, which was I was a recruiter for 20 years. Recruited in a lot of different types of industries, fields. I made a pivot. I made a choice to leave a company I was with them for 8 years, left them at the end of 2016. Truthfully, I did not have a plan. I did not have a strategy or anything of that nature. I had an opportunity to take a coaching course, but to be very honest with you, I wasn't intending on really becoming a coach. I really actually didn't know where that was fitting in. I took this course and obviously it made sense into going into the career space. Through a lot of different circumstances, I struggled in my own job search, was laid off. I had to leave a job I had accepted. It wasn't the right fit. Got laid off the Thursday before Thanksgiving. I always tell people I remember that very vividly. I remember the day, everything. And that year, 2017, was actually a really huge struggle for me. And so I really didn't start off as a coach per se, but what I did was start off as doing resumes on the side, because it was something I knew from being a recruiter, and I had taken this course and kind of piecemealed everything together. It wasn't anything fancy. Slowly but surely, actually, it just started to build. People started asking, one person would ask for something, and I started building that. And I actually ended up taking another job, 18, but I was still doing the work on the side. So I was doing a full-time job, plus I was doing this business on the side. And got laid off again the summer of 2018, and finally made a decision just to go all in on this business that I was building. That's
fantastic. What do you think it was that kind of made you make the switch to kind of doing it part-time and working for someone else versus doing this and taking it on full-time, taking on your own business? Because running your own business, there's a lot more to it than just the coaching aspect, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is a lot. I don't think a lot of people understand and realize to the extent of me running my own business is not just 9 to 5 where, I work with the clients, once that wraps up, there's client work on the back end, there's, the marketing, there's the business, there's all these other things that you have to take care of. So it can be consuming, and it's, there's never enough time in the day. And so I think for me, what I saw was I was putting in a lot. I was definitely stretched thin during that period of time doing a full-time job. But the truth was I wasn't extremely happy in the full-time job. I was seeking that thing that I didn't really, prior to that, I didn't know what, I always said I wasn't going to be a recruiter for the rest of my life, but I never had an answer to that question. I never knew what that next thing was. And for 20 years, all I knew was recruiting. And so at some point, I just kind of realized I don't really want to recruit anymore. I do love it. There's so much about it, but it really takes the perfect sequence of people and events to create the right opportunity. And I really kind of questioned if I'd ever have that again, and trying to recreate it, I really just didn't want to do it. So I saw what I was doing part-time and really was getting excited about that. So I took that leap of faith and said, well, what would happen if I did this full-time? What if I could just double what I've just done? And the truth was, if I could give this my full-on attention, I probably could do more than double what I had just done, because I really wasn't, I just didn't have enough time in the day to do everything. So I gave myself 6 months, truthfully. I said, I'm going to give myself 6 months, see what happens at the end of this year. If it doesn't, I'll go back to recruiting. And it's not been easy. I mean, there's definitely been times that, I'm like, oh, I question like it would be easier to have in some essence a 9-to-5 job. But I have gotten to that point where I don't see myself, and I've actually taken on different types of contracts on the side. I've worked for companies, but still having my own freedom, nothing on a full-time basis. So still working for somebody and still having that responsibility, but very much more on my own terms as opposed to the terms of somebody else.
It's very cool and something to be proud of. It's very cool to see that you've been able to build something like that for yourself, and the freedom, that's something that's hard to get.
Yeah, it really is. My family, my parents were ill for a period of time, and I had the flexibility to help my mom when she was sick, and my kids are older, but my daughter was in college. There is freedom that I have that I think some people probably are like, oh, you're so lucky you can go like work out every morning. You don't start your day till 11, or you have your freedom here. And I do have freedom on my schedule in terms of that. But like I say this week, it's only Tuesday. It's been a very packed 2 days. And so literally going from the morning until, till 7 o'clock at night. So, so there's days like that, where I'm literally stacked with calls, and that means that none of that other work that should be happening is, so that's got to fit into the schedule. So it does take a lot of maneuvering, and you do have to know how to, my personal weakness is I am not good with like work-life balance. I never really have been. That's something I've always struggled with. So this is not a new thing for me, but definitely more trying to implement more of that, trying to have that balance, or at least some semblance of a balance.
If I can dive into that a little deeper, why do you say that that's been such a struggle for you?
Because I think, especially when you work for yourself, that it is very easy to be like all consuming, like, here's my business. And in essence, it's another child really, to grow that. And I think when also you work from home in general, I think that it's hard sometimes to turn that off because it's kind of like you're always surrounded by it. And so, there's always something you can be working on. I think that's, there's always something like, oh, I got to develop that next thing, or, oh, I got this idea that I want to do, or, I got to send those emails. Like last night, I had a stack of emails that I hadn't been able to respond to. It was late. Probably on any other day, I probably wouldn't have, but I do like to have somewhat of a clean start to the next day. So I sat down and did a handful of emails just so that they had responses. So it sometimes it's just turning it off, I think, is the hardest part, or, not, feeling there's always something to be done.
Yep. When you're the in person that has to answer to it, I'm sure that's a little extra weight on your shoulders. What would you say so far has been the proudest moment for you in running your own company?
I think it's just the survival of my business and just the growth of my business. I've been very fortunate to, I've had years that, and months of, not necessarily years, but months at a time where it's been struggles. I'm very real about it. I think sometimes people, when we see success in other people, we don't recognize what has happened behind the scenes to get to that point. Maybe we don't necessarily see it either. They don't necessarily share it. But I think that it's important to realize that, there's definitely been, stretches of months have been like incredibly difficult. And when you're in the career coaching space in particular, that's the markets that we have currently, that's particularly can be tough. I've gone through a pandemic, or obviously we've all gone through the pandemic, but, having a fairly new business during a pandemic was definitely incredibly scary. The unknown, and, and again, like you said, all the responsibility kind of falls on me. So, being able to just really, I mean, my biggest achievement, honestly, is just growing this business and that this business still exists. And I've been able to do this for 8 years. And, I don't mind doing the work when, the hard work and extra hours when it needs to be done, and really just growing it. I mean, I think that's I never really, again, I didn't have a plan per se. I definitely didn't start my business in the way that you would read about online, where they'd be like, have this amount of savings and do this, 6 months prior and have a business plan. I had none of that. Okay. I had none of that. And so, learning how to overcome those challenges, I think, is another thing that I'm particularly proud of. So. That's
great. I saw also recently you were noticed and recognized as one of the top coaches in Baltimore, the top 15. Yeah. That's a pretty great accomplishment.
That was an incredible recognition, and being able to be recognized, and especially with some of the individuals in that particular group. I have watched on particularly LinkedIn and seen know of, and so just being recognized for something that wasn't like, first of all, I don't think I know nobody grows up in the world and says, hey, I'm going to be a recruiter when I grow up. Nobody has said that. Nobody will say that. Nobody should say that. It's a very tough field. But nobody grows up to say, hey, I want to be a recruiter. So I think the same goes. Like, I wasn't that person. Had you asked anybody in my family, that would have been like, oh, was she always entrepreneurial? Did she always want to start her own business? I never talked about that. I mean, that was never something I saw myself doing. So the fact that I've gotten to this point, that I have had recognitions, that I've been able to, I just this past summer did work with a company called Udacity. I got hired to be a content creator as well as an instructor for 4 courses online, 2 of them being LinkedIn, 2 of them, one cover letters and the other one resumes. So that was a particularly, being hired to do that, being sought out to do that. That was something that, again, never had any of this on my radar. So everything that comes my way from this is just, I'm internally grateful for.
That's great. I know before we started this, we talked briefly, and you told me that you believe in God. So I was curious if you could tell us a little bit about how that belief in God and your faith impacts your coaching that you do.
Yeah, I think, I'm a very big person in terms of, if I go back to 2017, where I was struggling, had some mishaps with my career, definitely hit some rock bottoms. And I think that my faith at that point was probably the biggest thing that kind of kept me afloat, to be very honest, because, a lot of setbacks, being laid off, knowing that in the recruiting world, if you're not hired in this, you're not getting hired in December, basically. I was doing the hiring for 20 years. I know you're not being hired in December. I knew I wouldn't be hired probably till February, to be very honest with you. Like, I knew that. And it wasn't me being pessimistic or negative or anything. It was just, I know the market. And so having my faith was something that was really incredibly important to me. I think faith and mindset are intertwined together in many ways. I think your mindset, faith is, very much the things that you do not see. You have to have, some blind faith in that, and also how to overcome fear, and fear that you're failing, fear that you're not going, to survive. And there were times that I was very, very low mentally on that standpoint, because I was definitely struggling financially. Single mom, taking care of raising a teenage daughter. So my faith is just, it's very much a part of who I am. For the most part, every day I try to do some sort of meditation or reading, a Bible study in terms of that, just to have some centering. And I think that where I translate that into my coaching is really more so the aspect of having a positive mindset and having that faith that you maybe don't know, we don't necessarily see what's ahead of ourselves, but we know that if we keep on moving forward, if we remain positive, that it's going to be something, that we're going to end up where we're supposed to be. And for me, that's a huge piece of it.
Absolutely. A heart of gratitude goes a long way.
Yeah, and gratitude is a big piece for me as well. I'm a big believer in gratitude and giving gratitude every single day. Having gratitude lists, and sometimes too, if I have a struggling job seeker, I often refer back to the gratitude piece. Because even when you are at the lowest, there's something always to be grateful for. Whether it, and there were days that literally I'd be like, I'm searching hard for something to be grateful for, and of course I'm always grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my cat, I'm grateful for my family, but there'd be days that I'd be like, okay, I'm grateful for the blue sky, and just really some days feeling like I had to dig deep to find that gratitude piece, on the hardest days. But gratitude is also what keeps the blessings coming to you, but it also reminds you of the things that you do have. And, even when we don't feel, maybe we don't have the end goal that we're seeking, we do still have a lot. And, finding that gratitude, I think, is a huge piece as well. So.
Absolutely. Even in our worst days, we always have something to be thankful for. Yep. That's a very good reminder. Some good wisdom you just shared there. Switching gears just a tad, if you had to pick one thing that's driving most of the growth in your business right now, what would you say that is?
Oh, that's a good question. So I really will say this. I'm going to frame this as it's an investment in myself. This past summer, I made 2 different investments in 2 different coaches for myself. And I think this is something that, and it was a very hard decision. I would like to, I'm in Maryland now, but I had plans to move down to Florida, and the goal was that it was going to happen this summer. And I ended up taking the money that was supposed to be for that move and investing it into the business, but into myself. And because I had opportunity to work with 2 different coaches. And so I think it's really important that people realize, in order for you to get better, in order for you to grow your business, in order for you to, you have to push yourself as much as you're pushing your clients. Because at the end of the day, there's only going to be so much you can do on your own. So those investments have to happen. They have to occur at some point in juncture. And for me, it happened to be this year. And I wasn't planning on necessarily doing 2 coaches at the same time. It just all kind of happened at the same thing. So for me, that's really what has shaped me this past 6 months or so, is that really focusing on my growth as a coach, but my growth for my business, and how to reshape my business, how to reframe things that are not working, and learn ways to make them work. And one of those is we have a sort of a community of sorts, academy. It's called LinkedIn Rockstar Academy. I'm co-founder of that. Something my partner and I have been developing for quite some time. We've done it on our own 2 or 3 times. Not super successful. We had mild success, but we knew we could build it. But we were too much in the weeds with that. And so, hired a coach to really kind of give us a better framework, find out what we're doing wrong, and really refine that. So I think, that's been a game changer for us. It's really changed how we reach out to people, how we connect with people. We knew we had the product. We just we had all the pieces. We just didn't have the pieces in the right order for them to work.
That's amazing. It pays to hire experts sometimes, and it's nice to have someone on the outside looking in to see your business. They see it from a different perspective. That's really helpful.
Absolutely. And so I think it's important to know, coaches, I encourage coaches to continue to hire other people to coach you, to get you to that next level, because again, there's just only so much you can do on your own.
That's important. Even coaches need coaches.
Yep, absolutely.
Then on the flip side, what would you say is one of the hardest parts right now about running your business?
Yeah, so as you grow your business, time becomes such a commodity. And so time has been my biggest, I can't make up time. I can't create time. If I could, I wouldn't be here. I would be on a beach somewhere and, having the greatest invention of all time if we could create time. But I think just not having enough time, because when you are going through these processes and refining processes, it takes a little bit of away from the day-to-day practice. And so not always I took a little bit of a hit this past couple of months because I was still working on 2 different projects. And so not as many clients coming in, just because I didn't have, had deadlines, things of that nature. So I think it's just a balance of the two, but, getting things launched and on track and making sure we stayed on our goals for those, for the 2 things that I've been working on has been, the biggest challenge that I faced in the last couple of months.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. What would you say has been your biggest challenge with attracting or keeping customers this past year?
I think there's so much uncertainty, in particular in the job market, that, a lot of I've been very fortunate. A lot of my clients that have worked with me previously have come back and do come back. And I have a very strong referral network, but on the same token, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's happening and what we see in this world. And so that leaves uncertainty in terms of, it's always scary to invest in yourself. Can you make this happen? And I'm very realistic to tell somebody, I can't guarantee this resume or this LinkedIn profile is going to quote unquote land you that job per se. There's a lot of factors that we don't control in this process. And I've said this even as a recruiter. However, there are ways that you need to set yourself up for success. So it is, again, going back to, are you investing in your career? Are you investing in yourself? And that is sometimes scary because you have to, most likely justify the cost. So I think that's been the biggest challenge, is just the up and down of the market and, being able to, again, not something I can control, but people being scared of what would happen. Okay, I don't have the money right now. Financially, I think that's a hard thing to it's just a harder thing to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you mentioned time earlier, and that's one of the rare commodities of the day right now for you. If you had 10 to 20 more hours a week, what would you focus on instead?
Wow. That's a good question. I don't know. I've never, I don't even know what I would do with 10 to 20 more hours during the, wow, that's a really good question. I should know what I'd want to do, right? I think honestly, just, spending probably a little bit more me time, a little bit more downtime, truthfully, probably break that down into just, some disconnecting from, the internet and the laptop. I think is healthy. I think it's needed. But yeah, I mean, just really, I'm definitely in growth mode right now. So there's still a lot of things that are on the plate to achieve and grow and do. So having those extra hours, just being able to even take a couple of hours and apply to some of the other things that I want to, do as I go into 2026, would definitely be on the plate there as well.
That's great. Growth mode is great. But being in growth mode, where would you say, just thinking about the future, where do you hope that your business is 12 months or 18 months out from now? Yeah,
I mean, I think, looking into the future, I, definitely see a strong 6-figure business, to be very honest with you. I absolutely see that. I see LinkedIn Rockstar Academy growing into a full-blown community of professionals that we, not only just my business partner and I, but really having a resource for people and having a community of like-minded individuals. I think it is something that I can definitely see that now in the future. And also being another source of income, I think that's something that as coaches and entrepreneurs, I think that you have to have multiple streams of income coming in from different angles realistically. Absolutely. And I think it's just smart. And so, yeah, I mean, from a business standpoint, I mean, really a strong 6-figure business is the goal right now. That's what we're working towards. And I say we, like, it's just me and the cat. It's the kids too, but it's really just me and the cat that's invested in this at this point. He's the baby of the family. So my friends joke, he lives a 6-figure life. I work to make his 6-figure life. So yeah, so he lives a fine 6-figure life. So, but I think that's the biggest goal, is just a strong, consistent, strong revenue of 6 figures.
Very cool. That's a good goal. That's awesome, and good to hear that it sounds like you feel like it's going to be pretty achievable within the next year.
I think I've done with the 2 investments and the 2 different coaches. I think one has been focusing on lead generation and refining that process and really up-leveling my services and the packages that I offer. Really pushed me hard to have like the best top services, to the point I was literally like, this has got a lot, and I'm still in the process of some refinement with my website. Is still that was what I was supposed to be working on in this week. My web designer is still waiting on information from me, but refining that information and really just making it the best it possibly can be. Pushing myself and raising my prices, which again, another thing that's incredibly scary. Especially I think like, okay, am I just crazy that in this market I'm increasing my prices? Is that the craziest thing I could do? But also seeing, I've already had success, and that was before we quote unquote officially launched. And so, knowing that the market is out there, and again, some of this comes into worthiness, and, you talk about faith, and, understanding your worth and understanding your value is, again, it's something that's incredibly important, and it's something that in particular, women struggle with. I know both men and women do, but definitely, females in particular struggle with that worthiness question. And when it comes to that price, and, realizing, and I've had and when I first started off, because of where I was starting from a place of like, I'll just take in, like, I just need money, I was looking to survive at that point,
right?
So I was kind of starting off what I would call in the hole, so to speak. So I didn't really necessarily value my services and my time in the way as my business grew. And so increasing your prices, I think, is something that's incredibly important for you to take assessment of. And it's the scariest thing in the world to do. It's the scariest thing because, again, what if it's too high? So all of these pieces coming together with LinkedIn Rockstar Academy, with the increase in prices, lead generation, I feel probably the most confident I've felt going into. I mean, I'm not trying to rush. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not trying to rush 2026 yet. We've got 2 strong months still left. So, but I do feel very confident going into that.
So you heard Melanie here now first. So if you're looking for some career coaching, get in now before the prices jump up. But also, that's really
very flexible. I mean, I will say I'm very flexible. I try to accommodate, fairly reasonable. So.
That's also good though, because as you gain more skills, more knowledge, you're a better coach, and also as you grow your business, there's more investments you have to make too, and those are worth worth people paying for. So you're building out good systems that people are buying into. So you're not only increasing your prices, but as time goes on, you're increasing the value that you're offering them as well, which is fantastic. How do you see, along those lines, how do you see technology or automation playing a role in your growth over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with the AI tools, there's especially in the career coaching world, there's, I think there's definitely people out there like, oh, I can have AI write my resume. And the truth is, yeah, you can. But again, it's the investment of learning these tools and understanding how to use them. And there's a lot of tools out there for efficiency, automation of, different tasks and things of that nature that can help with time. Because as we've found out, time is is the thing I struggle with. But at the end of the day too, I'm not worried that AI per se would take over my job as resume writing, and mainly because I have honestly learned a lot about these processes and these systems, and I use these tools too to help me refine. I don't use them to write, but I use them to refine, edit things, and also how can we say something a little bit better, or condense it down, taking transcripts of calls and condensing those notes down into highlights and making sure I have everything. I think they're actually great assets. I'm not concerned about people. I always say if somebody comes to me and says, well, I could have, ChatGPT write my resume, I said, go right ahead and try that. There's a lot of nuances to these tools. They're not just, push and play. And so you have to really understand how to use them. And if you don't have a good resume, for example, to start off with today, just putting it in and saying, hey, I want to apply to this job, is not going to create a great resume. So that is the essence of, having somebody. There's still going to be an essence of creativity, human nature of just instincts and things like that cannot be replaced. These tools are made to, to basically make you happy. I mean, they're there to answer your question. So their goal is to answer it in the way they think you want it answered. So you still need a human being to have discernment. You have to have, all of these. So I think it's important for people to learn them. I think it's important for people to use them and understand them. But I don't necessarily think that, these tools aren't going to replace you. I will say the person that understands these tools is what's going to replace you. That's going to be the difference.
Absolutely. Like any other tool, you can use it well or you can use it not so well. And
right.
using it not so well can sometimes be even more destructive than it is helpful. And
absolutely.
That's a very good point you made about not being able to replace the human element. There's still a human touch that's needed, and the tools can get you somewhere and make some progress and help you. But at this point in time, it's not replacing everything yet. So yeah, very good points. And I think also, even to add to that, probably someone in your shoes who's even experienced the career coaching world and the recruiting world for years, you probably would be a little bit better suited to use a lot of those tools than maybe someone who's not very familiar with the job search, who's on their first or second job, has never really built a resume before. You could probably utilize those tools in ways that are a little bit more effective.
Yeah, and I think that's the really most important thing, is just understanding the use of these tools. And I just attended a workshop last week. It was about the advancement of technology, and it was an interesting conversation because he used the example of the Jetsons, for example, and how we used to think when we watched that cartoon, we're going to have flying cars and, all these things. But, it was funny the things that he pointed out, like the flat screen computers and things like that we probably didn't even pick up on. We were so focused on the flying cars. But one thing he pointed out, for example, was they still used a regular phone and they didn't have a cell phone. And right. So it just kind of goes to show that even the thought of the future didn't envision the cell phone. they were still using it. And I was like, oh yeah, like they were, these things. So I think it's important to realize, like, we must adapt. We must adapt to the times and, technology that we're faced with. And I don't think technology has to be an evil piece of that. I think technology can actually be a good tool, and it is an important tool. Again, it is how we use it, the end users, of course, responsibility, and and using it ethically, and from that perspective.
Yep, absolutely. I agree completely. What would you say if you had to give one tip to someone who's just starting out their career in coaching? What would you say would be one thing that you'd leave them with?
I honestly would tell them, really get strong before you branch out on your brand and your positioning. That's a big piece of what we do in the LinkedIn Rockstar Academy. That's actually the first thing we always talk about, to be very honest with you, is your brand and your positioning. Understanding how you're going to present yourself and having a very strong brand is going to carry you a lot further. I think when coaches start off, they tend to think that they need to be everything to everyone, and the truth is, being very clear on your niche, zeroing in on your niche, it doesn't mean that somebody else won't work with you, but when you have a very clear target, you can remain focused on who you're attracting. And I think when coaches first start out, they tend to be a little bit all over the place because they don't necessarily, they're trying to build this business and like, oh, I'll do this. And what happens is you start to spread yourself too far out, and then you're not generating new clients. You're not building that strong reputation because you're trying to do a little bit of everything. And so if you can get really strong on your brand and your positioning before you launch, that's going to carry you a lot further.
Great. Thank you for that. That's a great tip. And then I'll wrap it up by asking this as well. If viewers are interested in career coaching or even just reaching out to you about anything that you had to say today, where's the best place for them to reach you?
LinkedIn is going to be the best place. You can look me up, Melanie Mitchell Wexler. And of course, you can also check me out on my website at findsucceedachieve.com. It will be updated. My web guy is going to kill me. Well,
let me know when it's updated and I'll add it to the show notes.
Yeah, it'll probably be by the end of this week. But LinkedIn is the easiest, and just mention this and I'd love to connect with you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Melanie. Thank you for viewers. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Grow For It. Thank you.
Thanks.